Welcome to Hobbitea. I'm Georgia. This is Lauren.
Nice to meet you.
So, welcome to our channel. We are not nervous at all.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. We've got a little apology jar just offset, so if we serial apologise like we usually do, we'll try and keep it to a minimum because I'm not paying.
We're not paying Mac.
We're not paying Mac for that, so that's fine. We decided to dedicate our first episode to retellings and how that's quite a popular thing in pop culture and stuff at the minute, and how it has been. Yeah, recurringly a theme. And we're going to talk about books we really liked.
Books we really hated.
Quite a lot. And,
spoilers!
Yeah, try and keep the spoilers to a minimum. We'll try and give you warnings. And we hope you enjoy. After the intro.
Hello!
And we're going to start by saying this is probably a terrible idea.
This is definitely a terrible idea.
There's going to be many violent U-turns, outbursts, lots of swearing for the most part. But for the main focus of today, we're going to be talking about one book we really enjoyed from the retelling genre and one book that we...
Well, I didn't, because you haven't actually read it. So
no, that's true.
I spared you that misery. So.
Basically, from the description, I decided it wasn't for me, and we tried to sort of...
Just to clarify, I was the one who gave her the description. It was not flattering.
Not really.
In the slightest, and I hate myself, but...
No, it's fine. Especially considering, it's one of our favourite ones ever. So, for us, Beauty and the Beast...
That's the bitch. We
absolute
love her.
Peak. And we tried... we might as well name it now.
Yeah. So it's called A Curse So Dark and Lonely. I can't remember the name of the author right now. Which is not a good thing.
Really, really not.
I'm so sorry, but it's right here. A Curse So Dark and Lonely. The author will be there.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Curse So Dark and Lonely?
No, it's The Curse So Dark and Lonely.
There you go. I have not read it.
Curse So Dark and Lonely. It's up there.
Frigid cameo or something.
Okay, alright, yeah, that's, you may have just heard Mac off camera telling us that little bit of a tidbit. We've tried to keep our phones out of the way.
So that, sadly, is the one that I really did not enjoy. And I'm really annoyed about it because it was on that book page that I really love.
Yes.
And I was so excited. Yeah.
We love it.
I was so excited. I was like, Beauty and the Beast retelling, that is me, that is us. I was too excited. I went and bought it. You were so annoyed.
Yeah.
So I didn't buy you a copy, which is what I usually do. And then I read it, and guys, I'm going to be honest, I finished most books. I did not finish this.
No.
I was mad. That's how mad I was. I stopped. I just closed the book. I was like, no, I'm done. I can't do this.
Skips through most of it. Got the general gist of the ending.
I even went to the end because I was hoping maybe... I got to a certain point and I was like, please get better. Please. Much begging. And it didn't. I even skipped to the end. I was like, maybe if I just know a little bit... I don't do that, just before anyone judges me. I was like, maybe... That's how desperate I was. And no, it didn't. I was like, I'm not even intrigued enough by this moment that happened to carry on from where I left off. I was really annoyed. just because it's supposed to be good.
Yeah.
Beauty and the Beast,
We
how can you mess
heard-
that up?
So many good reviews.
And we read them.
So many good reviews. And not to shame anybody, we're not going to name and shame anybody.
No, like it's just not
we
for
do
me.
not agree.
No, I did not agree with many of the things that were said. But a book we surprisingly loved, because she's not our favourite princess. She's not bad.
This is a point that we're going to bring up,
Yeah.
especially when we delve into the history of the retellings and the sort of origins of these stories. We're not Cinderella girls.
We're not.
We like it.
Oh, it's cute.
We're beautiful.
Beautiful dress.
But-
Not Belle's dress, but whatever.
Yeah. But Belle is our girl. And however, the one that we absolutely love, which is going to be popping up right about here, is Cinderella is Dead by Kaylin Bayron. I really hope I'm pronouncing that right. I do apologise.
Someone correct us, please.
Yeah, that's fine. Rip me to shreds. It's cool. She is one of my new absolute favourite authors.
Yeah.
I am so excited. I've already pre-ordered the next book that's coming out.
Yeah.
Can't even think of the name of it, but I know it's on my account.
The Poison Heart.
Thank you.
Yeah.
There we go. So that is the book we will be comparing it to. There will be a few other bits about context and different things. I was about to apologise, but I'm not paying the fucking job.
Don't do that.
So
I'm not
it's not
buying
gonna have-
dinner. That's how much
No,
we're going to,
that's true,
no
actually.
offence, Mac, but like I'm not doing that.
So, we're going to try and keep on track as much as humanly possible, but like we said, many, many violent U-turns.
I'm not apologising. No, I'm not.
No, not doing it.
Not doing
I'm too
it.
cheap. So,
yeah,
yes.
we should probably start off with the good points of the book I didn't like, because there were a few. There were a few.
Representation.
Representation, absolutely. Like the main character, the Belle character, who is called Harper. Not my favourite, but whatever. That's just a personal thing. So the Belle character, Harper, actually has cerebral palsy, which I thought was a really cool thing, because like it's not ableist.
Really not.
Like, you know, the heroine has a disability, or you
Is
know,
not sort of hampered by it.
not impeded at all. In fact, throughout the book, when the characters, because the book basically takes place in an alternate reality.
Spoilers.
So, spoilers, but like
Lots of spoilers.
there'll be lots of spoilers in this. If you don't want spoilers, don't listen.
I'm joking.
But
Kidding.
I'm kidding. You should listen.
We can cut that out. It's
It's
fine.
fine. But like it takes place
Spoiler
in
warning.
it takes place in an alternate reality where the beast and the castle and everything is, and a lot of, you know, because it's set in a medieval time period, you know, a lot of people don't know what cerebral palsy is. They just see a girl who, you know, can't walk as well as others, I'll put it that way. And she actually defends herself so much throughout the book, saying, like, when she's being trained and things like that, she's like, no, don't work around my disability, work with it. Yeah. Which I thought was such a cool approach, where it's just like, I'm not ashamed of this, no one should be ashamed of this. It's just so cool. I really loved it. It was actually one of my favourite bits of the book, though there were few.
And then swiftly from that, it just
went downhill. Like it really did. Where do I start? I mean, I'll go out with some personal preferences. Like I personally, actually no, this is a good point. Yeah. You know how I'm always telling you how I don't like present tense flow. You know what I mean? Where it's happening to the character right now in the first person. You know, like, oh, I go to the woods. You know, and I see the wolf, kind of that kind of crap. You know, not my favourite, but in fairness, this was really well written to the point where I didn't actually mind that. I didn't notice that, and that usually. It's just not my favourite. I don't know why. In fact, Cinderella is Dead.
Cinderella's Dead also
does that, and I really
all present tense. And I mean, I demolished that book in like 6 hours. I could not stop. I was at the train station reading it. Everything didn't matter that my mask was like fucking up my glasses or anything like that.
That was good.
I was obsessed. It's the first book I finished that fast in
a while.
Good long while. Russian brain's a bitch.
A long way. Yeah. No, it is.
So yeah, I demolished that book. I absolutely loved it.
So both of them were first person, present tense, and like I said, a good point of A Curse in Dark and Lonely is that I didn't mind that, which is a big test for me because it's prevalent everywhere at the moment. That seems to be the new trend of it's happening to the character right now, and I'm so used to past tense. It's happened to them. It's a story. It's being told to you.
Yeah, I'm sure you said that it's like pretty much never the sort of book that you read. Like
It's
everything
not.
on
It's
your
not.
shelf
Is past tense. Like if you look at my shelf, I can. That would probably be one of them. Cinderella is Dead is another one, and I can't really think of another one. I think there's like one more, but I can't remember what it is. Oh, it's the one I'm currently reading. That's present tense as well, but I don't mind that. So yeah, that I felt was good. The fact that I didn't notice it too much. But yeah, I don't know. If I think of any more good points, I will.
We will swiftly tell you them because at this point we're not really sure. On the other hand, before we get into the big debate of what makes a good retelling and all that jazz, we absolutely loved the retelling of Cinderella is Dead because it completely completely remakes the Cinderella story.
Yeah.
And even though the characters are very familiar and, you know, very much fixed in your mind, that whole text, the whole Cinderella fairy tale, at least the polished version, is kind of like the palace-approved version of what happened to Cinderella. I'm going to try and keep spoilers to a minimum because...
Lauren really does not like spoilers.
I fucking hate it. Right. Like, I'm not even kidding, right? Like, no.
No. I've got a friend who often spoilers things for me, with permission, I will add, but like...
We won't name and shame you here, but you know who you are.
You know who you are, bitch.
Can't wait for him to watch it. Sorry.
You apologised.
Fuck. Pound. Put a piece of paper in the jar. Yes, you.
No, you just write an I know you, Mac. Come on.
It's fine. Crap.
No.
So yeah, spoilers are like my least favourite thing. Obviously, you know, a few years after seeing them, I haven't seen a movie. I'll give you that. Like my own fault.
You don't know the ending of Sixth Sense.
Yeah, that was the one. Like, I've never seen Sixth Sense. How was I supposed to avoid that? Like, there was no fucking way. Violent U-turn.
Violent
U-turn. To the point. We loved it for many, many reasons. And part of the reason is, obviously, a lot of modern retellings of fairy tales through art mediums, through books, pretty much through anything you can think of. It looks at the changes in morals and... Morales.
Morals,
love. What the fuck came out like that? I don't know.
You've got Spider-Man.
Nah. I know, I thought that. I was like, it's like Miles. That's clearly what happened. That movie. Oh my god, that movie.
Yeah, Spider-Verse, by the way. Next time, absolutely.
Because I will rant about that for a good 3 hours. Absolutely loved it. So yeah, the morals of modern society, they change. The stories and the sort of lessons we want to teach our children change. And that is a very, very prevalent theme in Cinderella is Dead. The idea that all these young girls are raised to basically know the Cinderella story off by heart. You know, every night before they go to sleep, they have to retell this palace-approved version of the Cinderella story. And that kind of, you know, if you're meek and humble and sweet
and
enough.
Pure and all that good crap that women have to put up with.
At least in these tales. That you might even yourself get a visit from the fairy godmother. And
you'll be swept away to a life of gilded happiness and all that crap.
Yeah, and like all the rich and powerful men of the kingdom get first pick of all the newly turned 16-year-old girls. As you can imagine,
it's not good.
Where is this kingdom?
Mac, no. Bad corner. And but anyway, yeah. So that is the story is kind of used in that sense. With A Curse So Dark and Lonely, from what I've gathered from our 3-day-long rant about this book.
It was literally 3 days. I wish we were joking. Like, I was so mad about it that I kept coming back to Lauren and going, and another thing that I hated about this book.
I had like 6 pages of notes, and this was before we even decided to do this as our first topic.
I know, I was so mad. I think the thing is, like, what you were saying about morals as well was really, like, just, you know, reminded me, like, you know, it's good because with a fairy tale, when you've got the classic, you know, whether it's Disney or, like, the older versions, which we will talk about as well, it's like you said, they're meant to reflect, like, the ideas and the ideals of the time, you know, and obviously, you know, Cinderella is very meek, very mild, very cute, you know, but you know what I mean? You know, she's very picture-perfect princess, and that is very much a theme in Cinderella is Dead, but because of how it reflects what modern society expects of us, it's just got such a lovely take on it, and I like the fact that you can use an old fairy tale in a new way to explore modern themes
in
a safe way. You know, you're familiar with the story, you know what you're getting, so it's not...
It's what we call non-threatening.
Yeah,
so
non-threatening.
If you like us, and as you can probably tell, a little bit nervous.
A little bit anxious, a little bit
all
depressed.
the time. So sad. Anyway, let's not get onto that one.
No, not today.
Yeah, if you're an anxious person, you probably know the theme. You want to watch a new movie, but you're absolutely...
Anxious.
Yeah, you don't want to watch it because
what if
anything
something
could happen. I really like that character.
Yeah.
Something terrible could happen.
Yeah.
So we put off watching stuff for like a year. And
as soon as we kind of get the gist that it won't go terribly,
yeah.
we'll
as soon as we know it's not so bad, we'll watch it. Or on a day when we've got a pretty good head day, when our brains aren't being dicks,
we'll watch it. So
we'll watch it.
Retellings are actually really good for us because we know what we're getting in for. We know that there'll be a happy-ish ending, even if there's like a weird twist to it. If it's an alternate ending, you know, we know what we're getting. Which is why, again, I'm so angry because I didn't get what I wanted. I did not get what I wanted at all. I was so fuming.
This is why we found it so hard to read all the positive reviews. We were desperately trying to find...
I really was. We really were.
We felt like we had a very coloured opinion of it, and
you know what? I even tried to defend it, didn't I? I said, maybe it's the way it was marketed as Beauty and the Beast.
We thought maybe it's a marketing ploy.
And it's like, no, every single review said it's Beauty and the Beast. And the reason I have an issue with this, because I probably should start talking about why.
We'll probably get to that
is because, at some point. Like I said, I love the Harper character for the the ableist aspect and everything like that. What annoyed me was like Beauty and the Beast. You know, it's like about a guy who's cursed for being not very good and like a bit of a dick, really.
Yeah.
And a girl comes along and saves him because she falls in love with the good parts, and which is problematic as fuck. We know this, but like,
there's some issues there.
We like it. And the reason I didn't like it was because, first of all, Beauty and the Beast. Now, there's a beast, right? There's a beast character. You know he's a beast from the start. Like, I'm pretty sure that's like an integral part. Even in my research, I was like, no, there's like a hidden aspect.
Yeah.
You know, or, well, it's up front, he's a beast, he's not great,
Yeah, but we've been talking a lot about, in our discussions about this, about the redemption arc and what we call the Ultron effect.
That's our personal thing.
Yeah. So
like,
redemption arcs for us, you've got to have at least enough redeemable qualities. That we £2 pissed. Anyway,
you've got to have redeemable qualities. Like with the Beast, if we go, because I'm going from the classic Disney version, let's go with that. Everyone knows that story. He's arrogant, he's vain, and he gets turned into a beast to learn that he can't just love himself because he's selfish and
he can't just be vanity.
No, it can't. And
outward appearance beauty rather than on the inside.
So Belle comes along and he obviously starts to realise, hey, she's sticking around because, like, there might maybe... And he starts to love himself, do you know what I mean? Because it's like, maybe there's something about me that is worth loving, and that's kind of what starts to change. And he's he loves her. He loves all her good qualities. That was one of the things I was in two minds about this. With Harper, she's very strong, which I love. I love a strong female protagonist, but... I was kind of missing some of the softness of Belle. Belle's a very soft character. She comes in, she's very, empathetic, loving. I mean, that's all the reading she does.
That was the main bit that got us.
I'll get to that. When
we talk major pet peeve, that's the one.
That's the one. That's the bit where I stopped reading, but we'll get to that. So she comes in and she was still feminine, which again I'm cool with, but I like traditional Belle where she's very soft.
Yeah.
That's just a personal preference. But as far as Beast goes, it's up front that he's a beast. In this version of events, he keeps it a secret from her. She knows that there's a beast running around killing people in his kingdom. Again, spoilers, I'm sorry. But, she doesn't know it's him. He lies about it.
That's one.
Sorry. Again, two! Fuck!
Sorry.
Stop it! Stop doing it. Stop talking.
I'm up to a fiver here.
Shut up, Matt.
You know how much you owe.
So he's not upfront about it. He fully lies. So she goes around thinking, "Oh my goodness, there's this terrible creature."
And it's not even like he's a terrible twisted man who lives in a tower and he's grumpy.
No, he's like a young man.
Murders people.
No, he does. They go to what? Well, first of all, before I get to that,
that's another point I got.
The castle. So the castle's enchanted. Everything in it is enchanted. That's still a key element in this book. But what I don't understand is basically, in this version, he's got a season, which is, I think, from autumn to winter, to impress the girl, which he steals from our reality. I don't know.
Not
And-
from my kingdom, but
No,
anywhere else.
Anywhere
is
else.
Fine.
And they come back and they're in this enchanted castle. Now, if the premise is that they're trapped there, why can she leave? Because it's in this eternal autumn. Like, the season changes from autumn to winter, I think, and then resets after, like, 3 months. Something like that. But I'm just like, but she exits this weird castle area to the real world, like their real world.
Like,
where
she literally can escape.
she can escape.
Which
I
is
mean,
good.
It is
many
good, but like,
counts.
I guess the whole point is like, where's she going to go? She'll still be in this weird kingdom that she doesn't know. But I'm like, well, if that's the case, then what's the point of it being enchanted in the first place? Why don't you just do the full seasons with this castle in its own kingdom? Why does it have to have its own special loop-de-loop magic thing going on? It serves no purpose other than to be like, look, it's autumn all the time, and it's just, why? This serves no function. She can still leave this season if she wants to. If she wants it to look like spring, she can just step outside the perimeter of the castle and be like, ooh, flowers. Like, I don't get it.
And also, while we're talking about the Ultron effect, which I will explain just a smidge for one of our first, well, it's probably not the first. I mean, I don't know how many times we've veered off track. However, so for us, the Ultron effect is basically, you know the scene, again, spoilers, but you've had enough time.
Ultron.
Ultron cuts off a dude's arm,
Yes,
right?
he does.
And he's like, oh, I'm so sorry. Doesn't mean that you feel better about it. You're not going to forgive him for chopping your arm off just because he's apologised.
But there's some kind of self-awareness, but he doesn't really understand what he's done wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's like, oh, I know that's bad by human standards, but like, I'm sure it'll be fine.
But you still don't feel the need to give him a redemption arc.
No.
There is no sort of, oh, he didn't know, so
he needs to be forgiven.
Let's give him a pass.
Yeah.
But
in this,
that's part of the problem that we have. Like, there
he doesn't
is
do that.
No redemption. There's
For the Beast character, he doesn't have a redemption arc. He goes around as this creature, which he gradually turns into like a werewolf, which again I don't understand. It's like, if he's meant to be a dick, then he should be a dick continually, not start off kind of nice and then gradually like disintegrate. I thought the whole point was it was like an upshot, you know? Like he starts off bad and goes good, not he starts off okay and then, oh no, he's a monster. Like, seems super weird to me. So he literally kills a girl. Sorry, kills a girl, and they go out into the...
Not counting that one.
He goes out into the kingdom, and the relative of the girl is explaining. Again, the Belle character doesn't know the Beast is the prince at the moment. He's like, oh, my daughter, sister, whatever, female person I'm related to, they've been murdered by the Beast. Nothing. It's from his It's from his point of view. He doesn't react. There's no like guilt. No. He kind of just flinches a little bit, and I'm just like, well, that's it. Nothing. No, you've murdered a bitch. Like, and you're meant to be the good guy.
This is not even mentioning the fact that, and we promise we will try and keep the ripping of this book to a minimum.
I mean, you will.
Again, this is not the first girl that's been kidnapped to try and break the curse.
It's been 300 seasons, so there's been 300 of these weird seasonal loop-de-loop things that serve no function.
And he has killed a woman every single time.
Every single time. And his own staff. There's like one guard left that's like with him.
Who he then is like, oh yeah, fine, go and pick whichever girl you like.
He doesn't take it seriously at all. Like in the original book, well, in the original story, in the original Disney version, he takes the curse very seriously. You get that feeling of like, oh god, this is awful. With him, when they have to go pick the girls, which I think he actually gets it from our world so that he doesn't have to get it from his world, which I was just like, dick. All right. As long as I don't want mine, all right.
That's cool, even though you killed half yours.
And like, he was laughing about it with the guy who has to kidnap the girls. He's like, oh, don't worry about what I like. You know, pick someone that you'd like. And I'm like, so you're fully going to kill these girls. You're aware of this. You've done it before. You're aware that this is what's going to happen. And you're still like, it's all a big joke. Like, I don't understand. That's not a redeemable quality to me. There's nothing about him that was redeemable in the end. He doesn't take it seriously. He doesn't act even like he's upset by all the atrocities he's committed, which just threw me off completely. And like I said, it's the lie about how, like, I'm this monster that she's meant to, like, turn me out of. She's not even aware of it. She's just like, he's kind of an asshole, but he's cute. And I'm like...
And yet he's like a dude who's been murdering girls for 300 years.
Yeah, and like,
it's fine.
But he keeps going like, oh, the Beast killed the people. The Beast killed the people. And she's like, oh, that's awful. What are you doing about it? And he's like, I'm trying to get it. I'm trying. And she's like, okay, as long as you're trying. And I'm just like, No. Be honest. Like, if she's meant to love you for you, that's the other thing. If she's meant to love him for him,
Yeah.
even with all his bad qualities, surely the worst quality is like, I'm a serial killer by accident.
Yeah. And we talked about this on the Werewolf Scale as well.
Yeah.
So for us, the Werewolf Scale is, again, there's a lot of in-jokes. It's going to be very complicated.
Basically, a werewolf has a classic arc. You know, you turn into a werewolf once a month, and you have the stereotypical werewolf is very guilt-ridden, tormented, tries to hide themselves away.
Yeah.
You know, kind of like the Beast did in the Disney version. He hid himself away in a castle. I mean, he couldn't even in the new version, even when he goes through the magic mirror, he can't
actually leave.
Interact with people because he still looks like the Beast. In this one, he can, because he turns into the Beast one night after like 3 months. Like, he starts getting progressively more aggressive up until the transformation.
But as well, isn't there that whole bit where, like, he killed someone's child and they come to him and he's just like, so sad. Like,
literally, just like, oh, it's terrible.
That's awful.
I just, like, what?
But yeah, so we went from, like, obviously tormented werewolf on one side. We don't mind a werewolf who's like, no, it's completely out of my control.
Yeah, he's self-aware, and he knows it's out of his control. That's fine. Like, you know,
but
I can't help
no
it.
attempt at all to restrain himself, to save people.
Doesn't lock himself up, just fully let, because, like, and
killed
the other
all
thing,
his family.
Killed all his family, and again was just kind of cool with the fact, like, on the floor where it happened, because it's basically like, I suppose you could use it, the loop-de-loop thing. Sorry. I suppose you could use the loop-de-loop season as like a reliving his trauma of the first transformation, because in the first one he does kill his family.
Yeah.
But their bodies are just left there. And again, he's so numb to it at this point that when she finds it, when she stumbles across this room of slaughter, he just goes, oh yeah, Beast did that. Like, so casually, like, the Beast did that. Not I did that. Just, yeah, Monster did it. And she's rightfully horrified. She's just like, what, you just live like this? And he's like, well, yeah, I mean, I can't do anything about it. In fairness, it's enchanted. But there's no reaction to it. And what I was saying to you about, like, that would have been fine if he had an actual meltdown later. Like, if I was saying to you, wasn't I, about, if he needed that emotional distance from what he was doing to, like, numb himself off because he can't physically cope, like, mentally, emotionally with what he's doing through no fault of his own, and that's what's happening, then I needed a breakdown.
Yeah.
I needed a moment of realization where he just couldn't hold back this numbing feeling that he had. And you know what I'm talking about. You numb yourself out to what's going on, and then later on, when your brain's like feels safe, it'll go, oh crap, and you'll just break down. I needed that. He didn't get that, okay? The most he got was like, when she finally realizes he's the Beast, and she's like, you lied to me. And I'm like, yes, girl. He goes, yeah. Again, just like, what? Why? You're about to lose this girl who you claim to love. Like, there was this whole moment where he was like, oh my god, I love her. I've never loved a girl before. Like,
For me, it was the gratuitous killing of 300 girls. But this one...
This is the one I don't want to murder. This is the one I'm fine with.
Who basically has... it's like the Twilight effect, you know, where Bella's so plain and boring.
Yeah.
This may be dodgy.
Yeah.
Bella is so plain and boring that pretty much any reader can implant their own personality onto the character, onto the protagonist.
Mm-hmm.
We felt like that with Harper, where basically there's not much to her.
No.
And to a certain degree, you can implant yourself and your personality upon her, which does give you that kind of first-person involvement in the world.
So it links in with the general theme, but I don't understand. Like,
and we've talked a lot about the Disney versions, we've talked bits, not much yet, but about the original versions, and we've talked about the fact that it's used as a springboard. Very much the same in Cinderella is Dead as it is for In a Curse So Dark and Lovely.
Yeah, it's a springboard for a new story, which I'm fine with, but my biggest issue is the original elements aren't there. You know, first, like, I mean, you know, I'll get into the history now. I did some research on this just before we came here because I was curious, because Lauren had done some research on the Cinderella story, which turned out to be really interesting. So I thought, hold on, let me give this a go. Let me see what
we like a little bit of backtracking. We like a bit of research and finding out about the original stories. That's very us.
So if you go way back to, like, the original concept, if you like, you know, before it became like a printed version. Yeah.
Before Disney got its claws on it, all that kind of jazz.
All that kind of stuff. The Cupid and Psyche story from the Romans is the one that was mentioned the most.
Yeah.
Where Psyche is cursed to live in exile because the Aphrodite, the goddess of love, is jealous of her beauty. and she sends her son Cupid to go and destroy her. But when Cupid turns up, oh, she's so beautiful because, beauty.
Yeah.
And he falls in love with her. So he takes her back to his castle, or palace, or temple, or whatever. No gods kill me. And he forbids her from looking at him during the day. Or in the evening. They can,
Yes.
She gets waited on hand and foot the whole day by all these invisible servants. So even the servants are involved. And then at night they go and they make love and all that stuff, but she's not allowed to stay with him. She can't look at him. So there's a deception. So I guess if you boil it back right down, there is a deception at play. He's deceiving her about being the beast and about what's going on in his kingdom, and she has to learn to love him anyway. Yeah. But in that, again, with the Psyche version, she was already kind of like down for this. Do you know what I mean? Some godly dick. I get it.
We're not going to talk about the conversation we had about that.
No.
Anyway.
But that was a really interesting thing for me. I've got my notes.
Yes.
A really interesting thing for me.
A lot.
And the original version that was printed was actually, I thought it was really cool that it's actually written by a French woman in 1740. Gabrielle Suzanne Barbeau de Villeneuve. I'm sorry if I said that wrong. But this one was
that one don't count.
That one
That's
doesn't
a
count,
pronunciation one. That's fine.
In this one, it was really cool because the Beast loses his parents, which is again part of the Disney version. But in this one, he's cursed by a fairy, an evil fairy, who wants to marry him and become queen.
Yes.
And when he turns her down, she curses him. And I was like, that's interesting because that does actually happen in that version, in A Curse So Dark and Lonely. The reason he's cursed out by this enchantress is because he was like, oh no. But I have issues with that anyway.
Yeah, there's a whole line when it comes to the reason that he's cursed. And again, we found it very difficult. Like, we needed a decent amount of personality traits, or at least acts of kindness. Or even just the fact that, it's very much like I think of, I wrote down in my notes John Wick. Because to a certain degree, you'll allow for a certain amount of people to be killed and still allow for redemption if it's genuine.
However, John Wick, his puppy dies,
and it's like, no, I get that. Like, you killed my dog, I'm gonna kill all
everybody.
of you. That's fine.
But with this one, but
the innocents are killed, and there's so many innocents killed.
Yeah, so many.
It's not
just the girls.
The one child, not 300 women.
That's
killed.
Just the women he's trying to make fall in love with him. It's not even
just to break the curse.
Yeah, that's not even counting the people in his kingdom that he's killed or anything like that.
And it's part of the reason he has to go out of bounds just to find
manage his kingdom.
But
I just thought, okay, he's that one I get because the Enchantress is definitely evil in that one, in the original one. She's like an evil queen, and she's like turned up, and it's like, I want to be. Well, an evil fairy, and she's like, I want to be a queen. I'm going to marry that guy. And he's like, no, thank you. And then she goes, you know what, fuck you, bitch, and turns him into this monster. So because it's like, if I can't have him, no one can. But in this one,
very hard to relate to.
In this one, she turns up, and it's like a vengeance against what's happened to her people, the magic people, and she can't get the granddad because he's dead, and the dad turned her down or something because he's married or something. So she goes to him, who's like a known philanderer of women, and he goes, I'm alright. And then she goes, you know what? You're the one who's going to get it. And I was just like, I don't understand. And really the magic made no sense. And because she had no control over it. The monster changes. The beast he turns into changes every season. And she's like, well, I can't wait to find out what you're going to turn into. I was like, no! No! If this is like the werewolf thing, where he turns at a set time, like once every 3 months or once a month, surely the creature should be consistent.
You'd think so.
No wonder they can't kill him, because they don't know what they're looking at. That's the whole point of Beast. He's some kind of man, bear, goat.
Sorry. I love how your brain went man, bear, goat.
You can shoot that. Sorry. We know man, bear, pig is real.
Okay, so, Susan, man, bear, pig is real. What are we gonna... Sorry. Off track. Violent U-turn.
But you know what he is, so you can easily kill him. So it's just there's all these unfair advantages I felt in the story. But maybe we should talk about Cinderella is dead.
Maybe a little bit. Avoiding spoilers as much as possible. One of the key comparisons that we talked about is the villain in the
Yes.
in the books, not
Yep.
the movies. There's no movies yet. Oh, I hope so.
Oh, that'd be good. You know
so
what? That'd be
good.
an excellent series, actually.
No, yeah.
Not so much a movie, because I think if you've got a movie, you've got to
You've got to condense it to a certain degree. And honestly, I'd love to see what they could do with the series with it.
Cinderella
Yes,
is dead, just to
please.
clarify.
That would be brilliant. Cinderella is dead. So what we talked about basically is the villain level in Cinderella is Dead and how it compares to redemption arcs.
Mhm.
I'm not going to give any spoilers because I will hate myself forever if I ruin this book for people. We're going to talk about villains this time.
This is take 3. So.
This is take 3. This time we're not going to give any spoilers. We're just going to say...
You have to call me out. Evil person, the villain.
The evil villain.
Yeah. You talk about this. You clearly have your methods.
What we can say is we all know full well that there's a problem with the patriarchal society with which Sophia is involved. That's the main kingdom. Sophia's the protagonist and Cinderella is Dead. We know that the king has pretty much power over everybody, the guards
especially
included.
women.
I talked about this a bit in a book review that I did recently, one that will be added to our Hobbitea stuff, which will be going up on Melancholy Monsters. And Happy Orc, of course. You're getting added into all of it, you know this. So yeah, part of Happy Orc is the reason we have the apology jar, because we're serial apologisers. And I already owe like £5 from today, but it's fine because Mac owes more. That was the last count. I think you're missing a few off there.
I don't think he's right there. But yeah,
it's fine. We'll
saying,
put it on a business lunch at some point when we can actually, have
meet people.
lunch. So yeah, basically, we're moving on from the redemption arcs and the fact that we feel you need to have a certain criteria
definitely.
to have a redemption arc, to feel like that. And we just could not find that at all in A Curse of Dark and Lovely. Cinderella is Dead. Oh, there's a lot of moral grey. There is a lot of moral grey, and we really, really like it. We like that kind of thing. And also another point we're going to talk about. We know we've talked a lot about the Disney version, the original version, and we're not saying that it has to be the same because it's a retelling.
No, but you have to have like the majority of the major plot points. You know, in Cinderella, there's the stepsisters, there's the stepmother, and there's the villain. We'll go with that.
Yeah.
And there's the fairy godmother.
Yeah, we have the original version of that.
Yep.
Planted, cemented, historical figure. Cinderella's been dead for like 200 years. She's a very real historical figure.
Which is in...
they even actually mention the grim tales of Beauty and the Beast. And
in Cinderella is Dead, yeah.
And other fairy tales. Not that that's the original. This is a point that we were really excited to bring up. Awesome.
So, if the continuity's weird, we just had a brew. Hello, welcome back.
Sorry, that's on me. Can't exactly remember which part of the rant I was on, but...
I think you were talking about why you love the Cinderella is Dead book.
Right, yes. Okay, so...
Which you do.
I do. I love that book.
She we're roommates, just for context, and best friends, and she came...
Basically the same person.
Her room's up the hallway to mine, and when I came home from work and I dropped all my stuff, she came running down the hallway. I was like, dude, read this book right now! You need to! And then I was like, okay, I'm reading something else, and she was like, no! And I was like,
Tonight, this book has
right
to be
now.
read.
It was really funny, so I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So...
And it was super weird for us, because again, we don't normally relate to being Cinderella girls, as we'd see it, but... Love it. Love Sophia.
For context, the reason we don't relate so much to Cinderella is because Disney's Belle, reads.
Yeah, and we were very much that child.
Yeah, we were very, you know...
As you can probably tell from the fact that our first podcast is
about books.
Just a rant about books that we enjoy.
And that's, like, before we get into that, I've just thought of something else I was pissed off about.
Okay.
The Belle character doesn't read, and even in the original thing that I was researching this, like I said, this morning before we came here, and I was so ticked because, like, the Belle character doesn't read in A Curse of Dark and Lonely. There's no mention of books, and there's no fucking library. Like,
that was the main one.
Sorry, that's the bit where I stopped reading. I was just like,
you could have completely changed.
I am 3/4 of the way through this book, and there is no books mentioned. There's no library mentioned. Fuck this, man.
You could have changed literally every other thing.
Yeah.
About
it would have been fine.
And we're going to talk about that as well, about how much of the retelling you actually need to keep in order for it to be relatable. And we're just going to point out somewhere another book right up here, and it's The Claws That Catch Alice by Christina Henry. all of her books are
retellings
and absolutely incredible. They're super dark. Like, there is a lot of trigger warnings around violence and sexual assault that I want to point out right now before anyone reads them on my recommendation.
Do not go into it like...
You need to be having a good day.
Yeah.
A very good day. And even then,
yeah,
you know, maybe some chocolate and a cup of tea by you.
Yeah.
They're fantastic.
No, they are. I actually said, because we disagree on...
we wildly disagree
on the Closet Catcher. I can't... We both struggle to read that stuff.
For the sexual assault triggers.
Yeah. But I had to stop reading that one just because I was so horrified.
Yeah.
I don't want that to put anybody off.
Oh, God, no.
Because what I did say...
It's nothing to do with the book itself. Yeah. It's to do with the content.
Yeah. So, but I said to you, didn't I? I was like, it does. Even though I found it incredibly dark and incredibly like, whoa, what's this? Like, I did not expect that going into an Alice in Wonderland. It makes sense.
Oh, God, yeah.
But, you know, I said the writing style is beautiful. She has such a wonderful, vivid world. I don't know about wonderful, but like the way she writes it is wonderful. You know, you're very much in it.
It reminds me actually of the Terry Pratchett quote of the elves are fantastic, they create fantasies. So in this context, it is fantastic.
Yeah.
But not in
a good way.
It creates a so it's that kind of thing. The world building, absolutely stellar. Yeah. The imagery that's created, I could draw that for days.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's beautiful. The whole idea of, again, I'm going to try and avoid spoilers as much as I can, but it's very much like if you've ever played the old PlayStation game of Alice's Madness Returns. Is that correct? Yes. Yes. Thank you. One of my favourites, by the way.
Aesthetically pleasing to fuck. It's
gorgeous.
So good.
I mean, I literally keep my PS3 so I can have games like this. Dante's Inferno, Alice's Madness Returns, all of it. I have to have them, so I keep my old console along with some of my newer ones, and
that game's definitely one of your favourites.
It is.
It's up there.
It so would. But that is very close to the kind of vibe that you'll get from the Closet Catcher Alice. Mm-hmm. But she does start in a mental institution, and the flashbacks, that's where the trigger warnings are going to come in. But
you know what, while we're on it, we should talk about like why we're saying about the original concepts and why you don't need to keep too many of them.
Yeah, this is something we talked a little bit about.
Apart. Yeah.
Trying to keep ourselves on track during the break.
With Beauty and the Beast, like I said, there should be a beast, there should be a beauty.
Yes.
And
we don't care what you do with that. Like, to a certain extent.
Like I said, when I was saying about the books and the library, what annoyed me was, in my research, I found out that even in the printed version, which is, so not the Cupid and Psyche version, that's a Roman story.
One of the first printed versions.
The first official printed version by Gabrielle in 1740. Belle is still very much described specifically as well-read.
Yeah. So
it just hurts me.
That is a key character trait.
That's a key character trait, and that's why she's so soft and so empathetic, and that hurt me very deeply. We were just saying, weren't we, in the break, that I have such a strong emotional connection to this book, but for such a negative reason.
And I'm exactly the same for Cinderella is Dead, and it is so weird for us not to be so, like, we... and this is very, very common for me. It's something that constantly I talk about whenever I bring up stuff that I like, because I know that people are going to disagree with me. I will forgive a lot of sins.
You will.
I will forgive a lot of sins if I'm a big fan of things.
I'm not as forgiving at all.
However, when we do, and we do agree on most things.
We agree on most things.
This is one of them that we just couldn't get past.
No. And it's just annoying. Because
I mean, we have some positive things as well. We made sure, because otherwise it's just us ripping on it.
With the Beauty and the Beast one, the world building,
fantastic.
Even though it doesn't make entirely sense, like, I'm sorry, but like the vividness of the world and the descriptions,
the inclusion, as we've mentioned, we can't hype that up enough. We are all for inclusion,
absolutely,
all the time.
But with Alice, like the real story is stripped away so much, but you've still got integral. But like, she goes on a journey. She's in a strange land.
Wonderland, in itself, much like the kind of Sucker Punch movie,
yes,
to a certain degree. Without giving too many spoilers, that is the base that I will give you. Wonderland and the kind of old London feel. Oh my god, I cannot hype up enough how much I have pretty much bought half of her other books.
No, you did, yeah.
Just
I haven't read them yet.
That one. But, I'm reading them ahead, just in case.
Just to warn me.
And again, even with my own difficulty with that trigger, I couldn't stop.
No.
I could not stop reading that book.
That's what
to
shocked
save
me
my
about
life.
it.
And
But
it's so dark.
Even when with the
So
darkness, like I
dark.
said, you very much recognised it's Alice in Wonderland. You know,
Oh,
one of
God,
the
yeah.
characters gets a name change, but you know exactly who they're referring to. Their personality is still
The pivotal characters that are a part of what you know is the Alice in Wonderland
Wonderland
world, the Lewis Carroll world, and in fact we talked about this a lot too. The darkness that's included in the original Alice in Wonderland is something that has been amped up and played with.
definitely.
And that is where we found the difficulty, because when we were trying to balance out our opinion of A Curse So Dark and Lonely with Cinderella's Dead, which both to a certain degree disregard the original story, you know, for argument's sake, that's kind of
yeah, totally.
that's kind of like, so if you it's one of the
relevant
notes
but not
I've
relevant.
made.
It's almost like
It's definitely like the first building block
Yeah.
of the stories that are
exactly it.
being told.
it's the foundation.
However,
You can't
if
strip
you
it back
take
that
away
much.
that story,
Yeah.
this is the main question that I had, was if you take away that story from the book, if you take away and completely obliterate the fact that it's supposed to be a Beauty and the Beast retelling, would you still enjoy the book?
That's what I mean, and that's the thing.
That's what I wanted to.
That's the question you wanted to
Surprise
ask me.
question number one.
No, I wouldn't, because that's the reason I went in to buy this book, was because like it's Beauty and the Beast retelling. Oh my god, give it to me!
Like I spent my money on this because of that reason.
Where is it? That's the thing. But like with Cinderella is dead, I was like, well, Cinderella's dead. Like it's in the title. Like,
and
there's got to be something to do with Cinderella where she's not relevant but still relevant. If that makes sense, you know.
And like we read the back and we were like, no,
This is good.
This sounds
also very representational.
good.
It's got like it's queer. It's awesome.
It is. We love the representation. It's
so good. And then again, the world building is stellar in that.
Yes.
You know, you really feel like you're in it, especially as women. Like I know I keep coming back to that point, but it's very much a patriarchal society. So it's like, yeah, you get this.
And the dystopian nature of the kingdom that she lives in as well. I mean, it both hits on very common issues that are being raised in our world. Yeah. But also, just in general, it's
so far removed from our world at the same time. Like, you can see yourself being there because you're able to relate to what's going on. To a certain extent.
Definitely to a certain
But you're still
degree.
having an adventure.
Oh,
which is the awesome bit. You know, like, again...
You feel literally like you've been, for me anyway, it seemed like an island.
Yeah, that you've just landed on. And
like, that kingdom is an island. The world building is absolutely stellar because in fact, violent U-turn, back to the claws that catch Alice.
Yes.
Not apologising. That is part of the reason we love it so much. If you've ever read a book that's so vivid in your mind, I mean, that is basically the litmus test, isn't it?
Yeah.
For a decent book.
You've got to be able to remember it and remember the feeling it gave you, the imagery it gave you.
I have read this book once so far. Doesn't mean I don't want to read it again. It's just my to-be-read list.
The Claws That Catch,
through the fucking roof. The Claws That Catch Alice I've read once so far.
Same.
But I could tell you that book pretty much off by heart, honestly.
Yeah.
And again, it's that idea of taking like the core characters and
core themes.
Yeah, you can twist them to beyond unrecognisable.
Yeah.
But there has to be some relation. I will pick out one character without giving any spoilers. Because
I'm being very good. We had to do a couple of takes because she called me out on spoiling.
This
things.
is like take 4. It's
cool.
Only because, you know, as we said, we've given a lot of spoilers on A Curse So Dark and Lonely, but for me, I feel physically pained. I feel physically pained giving you spoilers.
Sorry, Jesus.
It's fine. No, I'm kidding. So it's just for me. Like, you can spoil as much as you...
She won't do it. Which character are we talking about?
Hatcher. We're going to talk about Hatcher.
So that
from
one's
The Claws That Catch Alice.
Yes, Hatcher.
Spoilers alert.
Yeah.
Right now, turn it off if you don't want to. Hatcher is obviously a twist on the Hatter from Alice in Wonderland. He is a cellmate of our girl Alice, and they can hear the Jabberwocky in the basement. That is all in the first chapter, so I'm not giving away.
No, you're not.
First of all, I had to.
Opening scene.
Scene.
You know, that's hardly a spoiler for the full plot, is it?
No, it's really not.
You introduce 2 characters and a monster. That's it.
Yeah, that's cool.
But no, you're right. Those are key themes to Alice in Wonderland. You know, Hatter or Hatcher, Alice herself, and the Jabberwocky.
And also, it's quite a common it's quite a common tool that's used in a lot of Alice retellings, actually, when you think about it. The asylum, the idea that there's something to do with mental illness or something like that. These are themes that are brought up in different retellings of Alice.
Yeah.
The Jabberwocky being the monster, but obviously in this, there's kind of a... You don't know if it's really there or not, because the first scene that you enter into is Alice and Hatcher communicating through the wall of the cell. And they know the Jabberwocky's there, but nobody else does.
Yeah. So you're kind of like, is this a hallucination? Is this
like a shared folie à deux sort of thing? Madness of two?
Yeah.
We don't really know.
But it's still, like you said, the themes are still there. You know, whereas in...
Very easily recognisable Hatter character, even when twisted into the darkness.
And like in Cinderella is Dead.
Sadness of Hatcher.
No, definitely. He is a dark and sad character, which is very prevalent in the originals as well. Even the Disney version, he is considered quite a dark and sad character, I feel. Like, especially when you get to an adult.
Glass. Oh my God.
Don't. We love that film.
Sorry. Yeah, just to... I'm not doing it. No.
You've been very bad today with the apologising. So.
I know. I can't help it.
I know.
We tried. It was my idea to bring the jar. I don't know why I did this to myself.
But with
Is the Keepers on Track? Did that work?
No. But with Cinderella is Dead, like, obviously the main character is Sophia.
Yes.
So it's immediately you're like, oh.
Yeah. You get
Where's Cinderella?
And then of course. This is why we read the blurb before we read it. Cinderella has been dead for 200 years. That is the main line of...
so you're like, how is she even relevant? But she is. That's the thing. Like, even from the get-go, she is so relevant to the story, to the world building. To...
This whole society has been completely created.
Every single personality in this book. Yeah, like you said, the society is completely built around it. And all
the patriarchal rules, all of the sort of different customs, the folklore, the morals, everything.
Everything is to do with Cinderella.
Story.
And so, you know, all the integral themes are there. You know, you've got stepsisters, like I said, the fairy godmother.
And it's very much
Cinderella.
The Disney version. And we're going to talk a little bit now, as my version of research was based on this.
Yeah.
I wrongly assumed that the Grimm's fairy tale with the stepsisters cutting off their toes was the original story of Cinderella. It's not. It's really not. There are many different versions that have been recorded, both spoken and written, over millennia. Yeah. However, the closest one to the Disney and printed story that we can talk about was actually traced back to China, if I believe my research is correct. I should have brought my phone over with me.
No, the China one, that's even older, and that's to do with a girl who
yes, but it's the first. They said it was the first written version, which had the same aspects. If you're
I
relating,
see what you're saying. Yeah.
So if if you're going along our terminology of retelling, where you have to have a certain few
criteria
points, or so like there's something that you relate to.
There's like a shoe, and there's a fairy godmother in the China version. There's an evil
stepmother.
And
if that's what you relate is the Cinderella story, that is the actual original.
Yeah.
Even though we're not sure whether Disney took the Grimm version, whether they took a different version, it's very hard to tell at this point. I mean, they copyrighted everything.
I'm pretty sure, didn't they say in the thing we were reading that in 1640, the Disney version that we know with the two stepsisters and the stepmother, that's the one from 1640.
Yes.
And that's the closest you can get to the Cinderella we know.
Yeah.
And then the Grimm's version is the one everyone remembers because it's so dark, which makes sense for the time because the Victorians were mental.
And
we
also
love
the Grimm stories are fucking hilarious.
The Grimm story is brilliant, but like, you know, certainly because like I was saying to you with like the 1641, it's like post-Elizabethan, which is very much into mythology and fairies and things like that.
Yeah.
So fairy godmothers and benevolent spirits make sense. Whereas in the Victorian era, where it was all occultist and darkness and death.
Yeah,
and
which
vengeance. We all love, you know.
Future episodes. There's going to be a lot of this.
It makes sense.
You couldn't tell.
Yeah,
already.
If you can't tell already, it makes sense that one would be darker. And then, like you said, when you trace it back, there's still key elements. There's always magic. There's always a girl who's a peasant who wants to, you know, not be saved. What's the word I'm looking for here? Like she becomes royalty or comes out of her moment of peasantry,
finding a higher social standing.
Rags to riches, that's the phrase.
Yeah, rags to riches. So that is a very common thing. Just to violently U-turn.
Yeah.
Again, that is part of the reason we love it so much. Because
it's very faithful to the original.
But at the same point, the rest of the story is completely different from that. Apart from one key part of it, which is very similar to Cinderella's story, the rest of it is so far removed and yet so familiar that it's
I think that's
really
the thing, isn't
hard
it?
to find.
It's a beautiful thing she's done. The author, Kaylin. She's managed to create a whole new story, a whole new plot, a whole new set of characters.
Yeah.
And yet maintain the integrity of the original story, and it's just so delicately done.
It is.
Which
it's
I adore.
Beautifully done. And we love the relationships, we love the characters. The fact that Sophia has such a strong personal character that you can relate to. There's a certain degree of implanting, again, as we talked about earlier on, the whole Twilight effect.
You superimpose yourself onto her, definitely.
You do, but there's still a strong character to her. There is still...
She's still
very
her own
much
person.
her essence. There's a fire in her spirit. We love Sophia to the ends of the earth.
Oh, yeah. Brilliant.
Absolutely.
Brilliant heroine.
Brilliant. Love it. We love all the twists, all the turns, the imagery, the world. Could not rant on about it enough, honestly.
No, I would hype this book up so much.
I found it very, very hard to find any criticisms, and we talked about the fact that obviously I'm very emotionally passionate about this book for the good reasons.
But in a good way, yeah.
The only thing we could possibly find was your whole thing about the first person tense. If you're not great with reading things in present tense, that could be a bit of a stumbling block. But apart from that, I found it really hard to pick anything that I disliked about it. Again, I do forgive a lot of things.
You know what? The other thing that
like
gets
something.
me is, like, with that book, it's only from Sophia, the main character's point of view, which is something I've, again, personal preference-wise, not my favourite. I prefer different heads in the story. I prefer different, I would have loved it if we'd had someone in Sophia's world that wasn't Sophia talk as well, but... Again, I love the book so much that I didn't actually care.
Yeah.
Whereas, again, with the Bell book, the Beauty and the Beast book, different heads, different perspectives. Oh my god. Like, I'm so angry. Like, why are they all so dull?
Oh god, yeah.
Like, I can't.
You know, this brings me on to my next point, and a question again that we tried to write a few questions outside of this that we could...
didn't rehearse.
It's more that after the 3 days of ranting about both
what can you say
books, we really were getting lost.
Yeah.
So we needed a few points to relate to and to also bring back to the broader spectrum of retellings.
Alright, hit me with it. What is it?
So, my next one is the relatability of protagonist. And... This is very, very much, again, about A Cursed, Oak and Lonely.
Yeah.
Why her? 300 girls are killed before you even get into the world in A Cursed, Dark and Lonely.
You know, you're just ticking me off with how much I'm triggered by this book, man. Like, I am so ticked off. You keep asking these questions, I'm like, stop making me madder at it, okay? She a bitch, honestly. She just likes getting me riled, alright? You're right. Why her? There have been 300 girls. And the thing is, you can kind of answer that question, and that's what pisses me off, because although it does piss me off what you just asked me because
sorry,
like you said, why her? And it's because, like, in the books, he's always picking, like, bimbos. You know, there's a whole bit where he's like, I'll pick someone pretty. So,
and it's like, we don't like the idea of this either. We don't like the fact that a woman is conventionally attractive is instantly seen as like, oh yes, pick the, because that means shit all, honestly.
Again, it's the lack of
like
severity.
You can be incredibly attractive and be very well read.
No,
that is not even brought up in the books.
True.
At all.
That is a good point, actually. That's not brought up at all. But that wasn't even going to be my point. It's like, you are... Why?
But the classification of women in it is kind of an issue.
And
it's actually a common issue in Cinderella is Dead. Because
but for
obviously,
a different reason.
Yeah, the one thing I can tell you about the books, this is quite explicitly talked about on the back and in reviews, etc. The idea of the ball is obviously...
In Cinderella is Dead, yeah.
You turn 16, you get an invite, but you only get 3 chances.
Yeah.
So if you show up to the ball and your family is not rich enough, if you're not deemed pretty enough, and basically if any of the dicks choosing you decide that you're not worthy within the 3 tries, both your life and your family's are forfeit. Which means that not only is it that men get to completely control all the women in the kingdom.
They get to control some of the men, honestly. Yeah. They get to control some of the poorer men.
And this then splits up the men and the women into categories. There are people who are quite happy to go along with the fairy tale.
Mm-hmm.
They believe it all wholeheartedly. It's a very much blind faith situation. We're not going to go into that. There are people who use it to their advantage. We already know this. We already know that there are people who will
spin that shit.
Yeah, they'll use anything they can to get their own way. And then there are people who very genuinely cannot see any way out.
No.
Now, those people are the people that your heart really bleeds for in the book, almost as much as the people who blindly believe. Liv, who is one of the main characters, and a friend of Sophia's, and we won't again give any spoilers.
But she wholeheartedly believes the story.
She's a very, very
devout,
true believer.
Yeah.
She does everything.
And it's horrible.
It is heartbreaking. I don't think there is any other point in the book
where you're just like... No, there's some powerful
it's like
moments.
A betrayal.
There are some powerful moments in that book, but that Liv's whole arc is the one that
heartbreaking,
pulls your heart out,
absolutely
and just stomps on it.
Because she genuinely, if she could
tried
do,
so hard,
you know, every last penny that her family
had everything she could possibly do to make them look good, to make herself look good.
Anything that she thought would make her get a visit from the fairy godmother, she would do anything to be the picture-perfect version of Cinderella's archetype.
It's horrible.
And it's horrendous. And that was part of the reason that we felt so drawn into the story. Because, again, you have an emotional connection and you genuinely care about what happens to the characters.
But in this, I don't. I don't care about, like, in A Curse of Dark and Lonely, I don't care about the characters. I'm sad for these women, these anonymous women that have no name. And, like, I think he describes one of them as the blonde... I hate that stereotype as well, that blonde bimbos are, like, the enemy.
Somehow expendable.
Yeah, they're the enemy to all, like, the nice brunette reader people. Like, no, bullshit. You can be conventionally attractive, an amazing reader, like you said.
Yeah.
It's bullshit. So, yeah, no,
and
why her? And that's the thing. She's not... All it was the guard was capturing another bimbo, if you like. This is explicitly...
And we promise you, we do not think this.
No, I do not think this at all. That's why I was annoyed.
We're just trying to use a single word to explain what kind of imagery we're going for.
It's the implication of the book. You know, he's stealing the girl's drunk. It's horrible.
Yeah.
He's stealing it.
And it is kind of pitting, like, Belle girls against other girls. Yeah,
like, you know, and then, like, so the Belle character, Harper, saves this girl. Now, I do like that because, again, that's the bit where I was saying, actually, this is a redeemable quality because Belle's very self-sacrificing even in the originals. She, like, does it to save her father in pretty much most of the versions I researched.
Yeah.
With the bimbo thing, you know, it's explicitly made. It's deeply annoying.
Yeah.
So, and like I said, she's self-sacrificing. You know, she says to her father, in every version, I will go and be the sacrifice, as it were. I will go and live with this monster, this evil guy, and you guys will all be safe. And in this version, in the Curse of Dark and Lonely thing, she does do that. She sees a girl being taken down by some random guy, and she's like, well, I wouldn't want it to happen to me. And I was like, yes, girl. See, it started off so well.
Yeah.
And she goes in there and she knocks the guy out.
But then it kind of doubles back then. The whole idea that all these women are expendable.
Yeah.
For the sake of the story, for the sake of the redemption arc, for anything like that, it kind of detracts from the original point that it's supposed to be about personality, and it shouldn't matter whether you're beautiful on the inside or out.
Yeah.
Like,
I think for me, the thing again that ticks me off, again, going back to redemption, the whole point of Beast is that he's meant to learn to care about someone outside of himself.
Yeah, but vanity is not
what point
should be.
In this bullshit thing where, like, all these women are being kidnapped, 300 of them at least, and he's just going, get the pretty one. And then every fucking time? Are you joking me? And then the fact that she just happens to be the one that's... I was like, no, don't pull this fate bullshit on me. Like, oh, it's fate, they're meant to be together. No,
I knew this one was
he's
gonna
not,
be the one.
He's not redeemable, okay? He doesn't give a fig about these women, even though he's killing them every single time.
I love how you finally pull back on the swear words at the last minute.
At the last minute, I'm like...
I don't give a fig.
I don't give a fig.
You fudging touch me again. Sorry. Just a little supernatural reference for anybody who cares to know.
So I just don't understand why her. I mean, again, like, there's nothing wrong with her.
No.
Apart from the lack of reading, apparently.
If you're talking about relatability to a protagonist and the idea that, you know,
well,
the key concept
of Beast is that he's a redeemable villain.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Yeah.
There's nothing. There's nothing about him. Like I said, I needed a breakdown. I needed a moment before his final transformation. Because that was the other thing. Like, he's getting close to, like, basically, I think the Enchantress is bored. I can't quite remember. I don't get why. But basically, he's got, like, after 300 goes, apparently that's the number.
That's it.
That's the number. Right. She's like, I'm bored now. And I'm like, okay, read the book if you want to. Just see what I'm on about. Like,
if you must.
If you must. Like, and she's like, he's like, right now I'm getting bored. So, like, you got to stop. You got to either get this one or that's it, you're going to die. Or you're going to, well, actually what's going to happen is you're going to turn into this monster. I don't know what it's going to be, like, by the way.
Yeah.
And you're going to kill everybody and then probably die. And I'm like, right.
And yet,
sloppy.
we know right from the get-go that Sophia and
in Cinderella,
her relationship, Cinderella is dead, again, we're reverting back, we are very much aware that the girl that she's in love with,
it's queer, we said so. It's
so
good!
We love the representation.
We do.
The girl she's in love with, we know full well won't stand by her.
Yeah.
That's the problem. The family won't stand by her. Her parents are terrified about what's going to happen if anyone finds out about her.
Yeah.
Especially
since she's got to marry a dude.
Yeah, like there is no... It's very much a case of complete and utter, this is the singular morals that you must live your life by, and any deviation leaves
wrong.
you forfeit.
Yeah.
There is no protection for anyone who deviate from the plan. None of it.
No.
And basically she knows there's no one to turn to. Her one of her other best friends, Liv, completely believes, so there's no way for her to talk to her about it.
No, and the girl that she loves,
who I can't even think of her name right now.
Erin.
Thank you.
I remember that bitch, don't worry.
Erin, again, is so... And we allow for the fact there's a certain amount of fear. We understand it's a totalitarian state.
Self-preservation, we get it.
But at the same point, Sophia is very much stranded. Even her well-meaning parents know there's pretty much no saving her, and so she has to wear the dress, she has to go to the ball, and she is terrified. And at the same point, outraged. There is a certain degree of mixed feelings around it.
You know, I was trying to think, that was another thing. You know, it was very real when Harper in the Bell book, that which I'm just going to call it from now on, just for content. I can't be asked to say the name every time.
Long.
Like, the Bell book, she is thoroughly freaked out. Like, she's just gone through, into another world.
Yeah.
And she's just like, whoa, the fuck is this? And I was like, you know what? She actually questions whether she's having, whether she hit her head, whether she's in a nightmare or anything. So I was like, so the realism of that, very good. So, yeah, it's like you said, the relatability. You can relate to a lot of these characters in the Cinderella book. I didn't feel that with the Belle book because, like I said, this whole thing of pitting women against women.
Yeah.
And
also, I mean, it's part of the Alice book as well. The Claws That Catch Alice, there are so many characters along the way.
So many.
That you genuinely just... You can't help but feel either heartbroken for or furious at. There's so much... die. Yeah, there is so much emotional charge and so much believability in the characters that are brought up.
And I was very much meh with the Belle book. With both those books, I mean, the Alice one horrified me, but I was still very much oh God, Alice, oh God, Hatcher, oh God, other people who need to have my sympathy without spoiling it, because I'm going to get told off.
It's fine.
You know, and with the Cinderella book, you're just nobody hurt them, you know. I will kill myself if they hurt them, you know.
And that's what we want. We want books that are so emotionally invested that we are like, oh God, this is going to be my life.
It's going to hurt me, but
this is my life for the next month. I'm just going to be here on an emotional register.
Yeah.
And that's all we've got time for today. But thank you so much for joining us. And as a quick wrap up, the first of the books that we've been talking about today is A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Bridget Camara. And, you know, we've talked a lot of smack about this book today, but we'd like for you to go give it a read, give it your opinion, you know, hell, get back to us, let us know. And of course, our absolute favourite from this session is Cinderella is Dead by Kaylin Bayron. And we absolutely cannot give enough praise to this book. Go buy it, go read it, become obsessed like we are. And please keep your eye out for the second book that she's releasing as well, The Poison Heart. So excited to talk to you about that too. And finally, we have been talking about The Claws That Catch Alice, another absolutely stellar book from Christina Henry's repertoire of retellings. Obviously didn't get to go into it as much as we would like today. Hopefully we might be able to revisit this another time. But just absolutely brilliant, very dark, very involved. And again, thank you all so much for tuning in. We really hope that you enjoyed it and that you'll be back to see us again next time. We're going to be talking about the history of folklore and, you know, how that fits in with familial tradition. We really hope you'll enjoy it. So please stay tuned. Thank you again from us here at Hobbitea, we hope that you have a wonderful day.